Rusty 1 week. Hey, welcome everybody. We're back.
Hello.
We're back.
Back.
A little
Did
short
you miss
break.
us?
A short break.
We're back.
I'm sure they're pining away for us anyway. So welcome, of course, back, Mary Beth. This week we are doing Apple TV Plus's adaptation of Isaac Asimov's Foundation series. And the new second season. So we're going to obviously go over first season. Second season drops Friday.
Yes.
On Apple Plus. So if you haven't seen it, you can catch up. So if you haven't seen it, of course, there will be spoilers.
Yes.
But we're going to go over that. But before we do that, we're going to have news. And then, of course, we have our Strange New World review of the episodes. And we have two to do.
Thoughts.
We have two to cover since we were off last week. So we're going to do 6 minutes this time instead of 3.
6 minutes.
6 minutes on each episode. So be ready for the spoilers if you haven't seen it yet. So
we're going to
have news.
We have news, and we're going to recap what we did.
And we'll recap, this past week.
How I spent my weekend.
It's like
before I start the news, hi, Chris LaRoche. It's good to see you here, and I'm glad I saw the Facebook post that your surgery went well, so I'm really glad about that. Martin, Ben, Jeff Ruble, and Bill, who was with us this weekend. Hello. Yes, Foundation news. Rizzo is right. The next season drops not tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, July 14. And season 3 started shooting in Prague last month. It should debut mid-2024. What are the folks over at Apple TV touting for season 2 to get us to watch? All I see is Lee Pace gets naked. Like, that's it. That's what you're touting. This is supposed to be a brainiac kind of.
Yeah, but
sci-fi.
Sex still sells.
Talking about Lee Pace. Okay, the newest Alien movie has wrapped production. We know who's in it. I don't know these actors. Kaylee Spaney, Isabella Merced, and David Johnson. Don't know who they are. We know who directed it, Fede Alvarez, but nothing of the plot has been leaked out. So your guess is as good as mine. Now, given how poorly Covenant and Prometheus were received, are they going to try to steer it back? Like, are they going to keep going in that direction, or are they going to try to steer it back to just good old-fashioned scary aliens that we used to know and love?
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Are they gonna steal stuff from Star Trek? Just to, they're gonna have like people in red shirts dying, or
at this point, may as well. I mean, keep it interesting.
I mean, they stole the Gorn. Or the Gorn was stolen.
Yeah, that's true. All right, moving on. Zack Snyder's upcoming Rebel Moon. Do you guys remember I talked about this before we left on vacation? I was like, Zack's not doing DC anymore. He may as well do something else. Well, Rebel Moon was originally a Star Wars movie, and apparently it still looks and feels very, very much like a Star Wars movie. Like, there's been a handful of first look images from Netflix, and I guess they all look very Star Wars. Like, there's one girl wielding what kind of looks like a dual-ended lightsaber, like 2 blades of red light. I don't know. Snyder insists Rebel Moon would not have worked as a Star Wars film, but I get the feeling we're going to see the Star Wars film that isn't. We'll see. We'll see when it comes out. Serious dramatic actor Ben Kingsley, you know him from Gandhi and Schindler's List. He's taking a turn at sci-fi comedy. He's starring in a new comedy called Jules, about a man who has a UFO crash land in his backyard and befriends the occupant. And then I guess hilarity ensues from there. I don't know. Jules is in theaters nationwide August 11th. Side note, Ben has done comedy before to great effect, most recently in Marvel's Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings. Big news for Star Trek Picard. The Hollywood Critics Association graced Star Trek Picard with the following nominations. They gave Patrick Stewart a nod They nominated him for Best Actor in a Streaming Drama. Jerry Ryan and Brent Spiner got Best Supporting Actor and Actress in a Streaming Drama. Michelle Forbes got Best Guest Actress. They got Best Streaming Drama nod alongside Andor, Mandalorian, 1923, Diplomat, a whole bunch of them. And then showrunner and executive producer Terry Matalas picked up 2 nods, one for Best Writing and one for Best Direction. Do I think they're going to win any of those? No. But they got the nod. Good for you, Star Trek Picard. Star Trek Lower Decks also picked up an award nomination for Best Streaming Animated Series. And interestingly, Jack Quaid, who plays Boimler, has also been nominated, but not for Lower Decks. He was nominated alongside Patrick Stewart for Best Actor in a Streaming Drama Series for his role in Boys. I don't know when they're going to announce the winners because of the writer's strike. So who knows? On the other side of the coin, the Emmys, they announced their nomination today, and Picard got nothing, or almost nothing. They got 2. They got Best Makeup and Best Prosthetic Makeup. And I got to say, I'm kind of disappointed. I kind of feel like they deserved a little something. You know, just a little something.
Star Trek has kind of notoriously been skipped over the years for.
I was really hoping this would be the year.
They really haven't won much in the Emmy world.
Do they not recognize that tremendous?
Well, you know, it's politics, I think, and I don't know why it's politics, but you know, we always get big deal about these award shows, but let's face it, it's just the industry patting. No other industry pats itself on the back as hard as Hollywood does. So, I mean, all things to the were people that, you know, nothing to say negative to you about the people who work on these shows because they do great work and they should be recognized for it. But, you know.
All right. Shall we put up a timer, throw up the crawl across the screen, and spend 6 minutes?
Spoiler alert.
6 minutes.
So we're going to start out. We're going to do this. We're doing Strange New Worlds.
Yes.
We're going to start out with episode 3 of season 2, which was tomorrow and tomorrow.
Yes.
Yes, folks. Okay. So ready? Here we go. All right. So it is a time travel episode. Boo. And it's filmed in Toronto, so I guess make it even cheaper.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you know what? That's true.
So that's to me. I always feel like time travel episodes back to the 20th century Earth or 21st century.
And it's always
Earth.
New York, right?
It's always not only that, but it's just a way to save money because it's like. So it's again another very Lana's centric kind of episode. They do spend a lot of time on her backstory.
A lot of time with Lana this year.
A lot of time on her backstory. So of course, you know, she is a descendant of Khan, and we meet baby Khan. Sorry. So and then she leaves him with a gun.
Yes.
End of episode. No.
She just puts the gun down and walks out. And
So there's like a weird timeline thing. So clearly, there's like we don't know who. Well, there's like these time agents that show up in the beginning.
The time
and that's how she ends up going back in time to fix the timeline because something has changed. And Kirk is what now captain of the Enterprise earlier, I guess, than he should have been. Yes. And then he goes back with her. And of course, now there's like some little sort of weird love interesty thing happening there. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of time travel episodes because I just think they're a cop out. I don't think this pushed the story, and the timelines, of course, didn't. Oh yeah, we forgot about the Romulan.
Can we talk about Khan's timeline? What the heck? He's supposed to be an adult
because originally in the original series, Khan was the eugenics wars was in the 1990s.
Yeah.
But they clearly had to push that back because the 90s didn't have eugenics war. So, and there was a comment by the Romulan that said I had to wait an extra 30 years. So there was a screw.
30 years, yeah.
But again, like I keep telling you, this is not Prime Universe. It can't be. There's too many inconsistencies with canon. This is Star Trek Discovery timeline or universe. So they can pretty much do whatever they want and muck about. I did think it was funny, and there were some good memes about her leaving the gun.
There were some good memes
with a child.
Yes. Yes.
So, I don't know why I love Star Trek likes to focus on Khan so much. There's always some kind of reference back to it. So of course, this character had to be, I mean, she's hundreds of years his descendant, so I don't know what the big deal is at this point.
Oh, and they shoehorned Pelia in there. They shoehorn
Right.
Carol Kane in there.
Right, because she's immortal.
She's immortal. So they
so they
it's
stuck
either
her in there,
her or
but she wasn't
Guinan.
an engineer.
Like
She
now we
takes
have our
PhD.
immortals: Q, Helia, and Guinan.
The other thing,
I don't know,
the other thing I was going to say with the whole Khan thing though is that they, it's like, I forgot, I lost my train of thought and ran out of time.
3, 2, 1.
That's it. No, sorry. Okay.
So tomorrow, not one of their stronger episodes, but now
and I don't think it pushed the story along.
I don't think it did either.
Yeah, I don't. Oh, you know what I was gonna say. I'm gonna say it anyway, even though we're out of time. TOS, like nobody knew who Khan was until they looked it up. But like in this era, like everybody knows that her name being Noonien Singh soon. Is Khan, but nobody else in the original series seemed to know who he was.
No, Marla did.
Until they looked it up. Well, yeah, but she was a historian.
She did, yeah.
Yeah, but she was a historian. That was her job.
Okay, well.
So, but she didn't know who he was until they looked him up.
Do you guys remember me complaining there's too many Noonien Sings and Noonien songs? There was a little jab at that because in the car he's like, "So your name is Noonien Sung," and she's like, "Sing." And I think that was just a little jab. Even they're like, okay, we've done this too much, guys.
Well, because I think we get confused, and they have actually muddied the waters between Data's
the Sings and the Sungs.
Data's creator, who's also because they imply that he did create because remember in Enterprise, he was the one that invented the advanced humans. With genetics, and then when he was all done, he says, "I think I'm going to try my hand at cybernetics."
Oh yeah, that's right.
So he says that so that he's basically going to start working on Data. So
all right,
they are connected.
Convoluted. That is way too convoluted.
So we went way over. We're gonna go. So the next episode is Among the Lotus Eaters. This, of course, just dropped last Thursday. Let's hit it again. Oops, come on, play. Oops.
Much better. I enjoyed this so much better. This
better
was
episode, but we're still not going to Strange New Worlds. We're going back to Vega 2, whatever the heck was it?
Rigel 7.
Rigel 7, right? Where he had.
But at least the set looked like old school TOS, where there's just a couple rocks and they had a blue backdrop. I love that. The set looked cheesy.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't. This don't get me wrong. I'm not beating on it too hard, but it was just another. It was another backstory sort of episode with
a little bit. But I just loved it. Everyone was in danger. There's
remember this is the planet that they're on. The planet that they're on is the planet that they had just previously we saw in the cage that we saw in his dream, so to speak, or his illusion.
Is that 7
where he
or
fights.
4?
No, that was the place.
That's
what they're referring to. Where he was. Remember, he said when he has the conversation with the doctor, he's like, "I should have known better. We got ambushed." Blah blah blah. That's the planet. That's it. Yes. And he lost. He said, "I lost so many crewmen." Well, the crewmen he lost, one of them didn't die. And apparently went kind of crazy sitting on this planet. Because apparently there's something weird with the planet because
radiation.
Of always radiation. So there's some kind of weird radiation that makes you lose your memory.
Always radiation.
So unless you're in the capsule. Unless you're in the capsule.
Unless you're the captain. He managed to kind of remember his, and then Erica Ortega.
Well, no, they all did lose their memory.
She just willed herself to remember that I fly the ship.
Yeah, that was kind of
the ship.
Yeah, she kind of.
But I don't care. I like this. I enjoyed it. There was a better sense of suspension, like a better sense of tension.
It was. Yeah, it wasn't a bad episode. I am certainly by no means ripping it apart. It was entertaining. I'm just still waiting for the Strange New World.
Yeah, we're looking for something strange.
When are they going to explore something where they have never been?
Boldly going where we were.
And it's not part of their backstory.
Exactly. Couple things. Mabenga's like, "Oh, it's always great when you bring the doctor along for his combat skills." That was kind of funny. They did this funny little Mabenga went like that, and then La'an went like that. That has meaning. They haven't revealed to us what that is, but it's some little gesture that they do. I don't know what that's all about.
Well, yeah, and the actor, I believe, is also trained in martial arts.
Oh, is he really?
So I think I saw that on a thing, so that he can do some of that stuff.
Babs, what's your last name?
Yeah. So overall, not a bad episode. We'll see. We're always waiting.
Enjoyable. I see Pike's trying to pursue that relationship. I don't know about that, but all right, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a point though. It's really how do you pursue a relationship?
That's why Kirk's first love. That's why Kirk's first love was his ship.
So the Enterprise, right? He just got busy a lot. He just hit him and quit him.
That's some side pieces.
Hit him and quit him.
Yeah, a little. little stray on the side.
That's why I would run my chores. I always say, don't sit on the bed because you don't know where it's been. That always gets a laugh on my tour. Okay, we're out of time, folks.
All right,
we're
out
of time. Let me get rid of this. Move.
Let's do our drink before we review the weekend.
We're gonna do our drink. And I thought this was kind of an interesting one. It's called the Emperor Cocktail. I don't know what Unicum herbal liqueur is. I'm gonna have to look that one up.
Ooh.
But it's basically that, sweet vermouth, a teaspoon of orange curacao. Now, mind you, when it says orange curacao, it does not mean the flavor orange. It means the color.
The color orange.
Curacao is
kind of orangey.
Curacao is citrus.
Right.
It's curacao is its own thing, but they will add food color. Usually, it's blue curacao. They do sell it in other colors now. This is orange curacao. They mean orange, not the flavor. They mean orange, the color, and then an orange twist. And then
orange twist.
And remember, I don't know.
I like
nothing rhymes with orange.
No, nothing rhymes with orange. I like vermouth, I guess. So I guess I'd try it. I don't know what that liqueur is either, though.
Yeah, I'd have to look that one up, but it's easy.
Yeah, it's an easier one.
Throw that shit together and boom, you're done. All right. Woo. Is that it?
That's it. So what did we do? How did we spend our weekend? Bill?
Oh, that's right. We're not done yet. We're not to the show.
We're not done yet. I'm looking at the chat they're talking about. Bill was there with us. Bill, you can put your impressions of the weekend in the chat if you want. We spent a weekend with the one and only, the incredible Mr. William Shatner. He was on fire as usual. He's just a funny dude.
Yeah.
Well, it was a good weekend.
If you've never gotten a chance to meet him, you really should.
If you've never come to a Shatner event, please come to a Shatner event. The November tickets are on sale already, so just come back. Just come.
I mean, even if you can't get the full big package.
Yeah, don't get the big package. Just
if you get the and you get to see him at the school, and that's pretty cool.
So not only did we have Mr. Shatner, but we also had the Okudas, Dave Blass, and Liz Klaskowski. And
Scott Mans was there too.
Yes, and Scott Mans was there too. And what a show they put on. Rizzo, you were there for that. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So it was Mike and Denise, of course, Dave Blass and Liz, basically talking about season 3 Picard. They did a 2.5 hour talk. Attack dog. With slides, and it was, people were just riveted. Nobody was like leaving or anything. I mean, it was so interesting. I can't even, it was just so in depth about every little thing that they did and how they got there and how things were changed. And the Titan, originally was built for season 2. We only saw it. I know Dave was talking to Dave on the side. He was not happy that they, he was bummed that they put all that work into the Titan and then only used it in like 2 episodes. The Titan basically got reworked to become, I shouldn't say the Titan, the Stargazer. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the Stargazer.
Everything I just said that was Titan, put Stargazer in.
Stargazer, yeah.
Stargazer, and then it became the Titan.
Yes.
So they used that, and so they obviously used more. And of course, the funny thing with what Dave was saying is like this, like they kept coming. He had his very strict budget, and then like, oh yeah, we need another ship because they needed the what was it, Elio? What was
Dr. Crusher? Yeah, it was the Elios.
The Elios. So they need that one, and then they needed, and now the Elios was one of the ones they dropped, I think, because what apparently according to Dave Blass was they were working on season 2, and they said, oh yeah, we're going to do 2 and 3 back to back. We're shooting these, and then they kept adding stuff like, and then so the Elios was interesting because that ship, apparently that bridge, if you notice, it's kind of square. It's because they had to use another set that was rectangular, and they couldn't make it really round. So they literally, if you look at some of the early versions that John Eves drew, and then what he did to correct it, he actually kind of made the bridge square. So the part that sticks up out of the ship where the bridge would be is kind of rectangular.
It's square.
So it meets the thing. Anyway, it was really interesting talk on all that stuff.
That's the kind of information, because just watching the show, I never would have picked up on that.
Yeah, no, of course not. And that's always the stuff. I have so much more appreciation for the show, and particularly season 3. Yeah. Apparently Liz was amazing. Dave said about getting we can never find this particular material, and then like 3 hours later, she's like emailing him, "Is this what you're looking for?" Found it, got the correct stuff. even the D bridge, you'd think they had blueprints, but even that they were making changes on the fly.
Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah,
they're looking back at old photos and they're like, "Is that really carpeted there?" Oh yeah, I guess it's not painted. We got to carpet it. That kind of thing. So they really did it. I'd say it was 99% accurate. As far as what they had and what they could do.
nice.
And even the crew, I think they helped out the people, the mill and stuff, because they originally, in the back where the chairs would kind of pull out of the console.
Yes.
They were only going to have like one or two of those actually do that. The rest, they were just going to be fake. And the crew's like, nah, we'll make them all come out like actual chairs.
They never once, and they don't use it. Like, to do that and then not film it, just.
Yeah, because I think he did only pull out the one for Geordi.
Yeah,
Geordi's, he was always the engineering station. So, they did, and they knew this was going to be a huge fan service, especially they knew when they did the Starfleet museum that everybody was going to be scrutinizing that, looking at stuff. And really cool, I'll show you, a lot of people did, but
I didn't.
Signed Stargazer poster, signed by David S. I can't really see with the reflection, but signed by David. There you go. Anyway,
nice.
I framed it. Gonna put that on the wall. Very cool. Dave is a super nice guy. He's, I hope he keeps his humbleness, because I think he even said, he's like, my wife's laughing at me. They doesn't understand why anybody would want my signature, that kind of thing. And I hope he keeps that.
He hasn't met a lot of nerds.
Because one of the interesting, I'll just tell you this one story, because I was talking to him and we are talking about Mike and Denise and how awesome they are. And he's like, I always say how we always look at Mike and Denise as rock stars, and they don't ever see themselves as that. They just see themselves as just regular one of us crew people. And he's like, yeah, I'll do one better. He goes, I was working, for years, I was a production assistant, and, in awe of Mike's work. And now I'm his boss. And I got to tell him when I don't like something, what that he did.
How do you do that?
Like,
Mike, Star Trek God Okuda.
Yeah, so I basically said, you know what? They're both very professional, and I'm sure they would understand if you had a reasons why you didn't like what he did. So I'm sure Mike wouldn't go stomping off like a baby.
When I first met the Okudas, I literally was like, that's what I want to be when I grow up. And I don't mean what they do for their job. I mean just their sheer professionalism, graciousness, patience, kindness.
Polite. I've never seen them upset, and I've been in
never seen them upset. Everyone who wants an autograph, yes, of course.
Yeah,
sure.
Everyone, and I've been in some situations with them where they had they would have been okay to be upset, and they still just
very
so polite,
so gracious.
So
that's what I want to be when I grow up.
Again, I hope if you guys can come up, just come up, even if you can't do the big package, because Bill's not gonna be with us forever, and he's still cranking along. But I don't want to be morbid, but you know what I'm saying. You're gonna regret it.
And it's worth every penny. I've never had an admiral or even a bridge chat person come off and be like, "No, that wasn't worth it."
We have so many repeat people. Obviously, they like something.
Yeah, that's true. We get so many repeat people who will drop for that admiral's package every time.
Twice a year.
Twice a year. That plus hotel, like imagine travel, hotel.
Yeah, honestly though, if you want to see Bill, this is the place to do it. This is the place to do it though.
Yes.
Like any other venue, you're not going to get the access to him.
No, you go to Comic-Con. Don't go to Boston Grand Expo or Montreal Comic-Con.
And I'm not one to tell you to spend that kind of money, because I think it's crazy. But if you can afford $1,500, you will not regret if you're a huge Bill Shatner.
Yep. Go to Ticonderoga, where you will get, unless you just get the general mission. If you can get that captain on the bridge, get on the bridge with Captain Kirk. It's phenomenal.
Even if you just get that, yeah.
Phenomenal.
Do we sell that separately, a la carte?
We do. We sell the chat, just the chat.
That's worth it. That's worth it. Whatever we charge for it. Absolutely.
Bill says he's coming back. He said his wife had a good time too. Bill, is your wife a Star Trek fan? That's the other thing, is even people who are not, like, we have people who drag their spouses, and the spouse is like, "Oh, I'm not really a Star Trek fan, but I'm here. I'm here." They come out grinning and laughing and smiling too. They come out like, "Oh my God, that was awesome." Right. I'm sitting there, I was just sitting there in my vestibule in my little terrarium. And some customer comes out. It's Saturday night and the tours are going on. And some customer comes off the tour and he's so what's the word? A bullion. He's like, "Oh my God, you guys, that was the best $70 I ever spent." And and they're off. Like, and he just got 70. He just got the basic
Yeah.
general admission, which means a tour and everything that's at the high school.
Yeah.
Worth it. Worth it.
Yep. Yeah, I did 2 tours over the weekend. When they get overloaded, they scrape the bottom.
They drag us.
They scrape the bottom of the
I'm
barrel.
giving you the tour, you should be worried.
And I think both groups, everyone I had on my group had never been there before.
That's a great group to have.
Yeah. So everybody seemed to go good. You know, my joke is ask whatever questions you want. If I don't know the answer, I make it up.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll make something up. So,
I do that too. Bill says his wife was a fan. Constant exposure to him has increased.
Oh yeah, even my wife was up there back in March, just on a non-event weekend, and she was even impressed. She's a Star Trek fan by marriage, as she puts it.
A Star Trek fan by marriage.
So
I'm putting the dates up in the chat. Martin just asked the date, so I put the date in the chat. All right, let's shift gears here.
Okay, so Asimov's Foundation. So let me preface this. If you are a fan of the books, okay, which came out in 1951, the original book, okay, so we're talking, these things are old, okay, and some of the stuff in there is dated. There's a lot of smoking. They're all old white men, the characters pretty much, you know, for the most part. But the story is still excellent. If you enjoy really hardcore, I call it hardcore sci-fi. Because it's not about technology and it's not about the pew pew. This is about, you know, politics and in a sci-fi environment.
This is not about robots. I know you're probably thinking Zeroth Law and all that, but
no, it's not. It's very different. It's basically the overall story. For those of you who don't know what it is
go ahead.
The story of an empire of humans. The humans we're talking, you know, millions of years basically in the future. Man has colonized the entire galaxy. And it is basically currently under, there's been an empire and then it fell, and then there's another empire, and now we have emperor, and basically this one mathematician came up with this thing called psychohistory, which is basically a formula that he can predict what will happen on a large scale, not individual people's day-to-day lives, but on a galactic scale, politics-wise, what will happen, and he predicts that there's going to be a fall of this empire within the next, I think, 1,000 years or something, he said. Yeah. And it will be a dark ages of 30,000 years if they don't do something to... But, what? Go ahead. What's the but?
No, go ahead. If they don't do something, and that something is...
The something is create this foundation where they can have a repository of information so that it will pull humanity out of a dark age thousands of years earlier than it would have had they done nothing. So of course the emperors don't believe him. They basically set him up on this planet at the edge of the galaxy called Terminus to set up the foundation. Of course, Harry has other plans in his mind, and we won't go into too much of it, but the story diverges from the TV show basically. I don't know if you can hear my dog.
Yeah, that's why my dog's going.
She's dreaming. Rippy. Hey, wake up. Anyway. She's funny. Nope, still dreaming.
She must be chasing porcupines
again. Like red chasing rabbits or something. I don't know. It's funny. Hang on. Rippy. Hey, wake up. Wake up. Sorry. Anyway. Where was
I? Terminus doing the.
Oh yeah. So anyway, I was going to compare and contrast. So the books are very different. They did take some characters from the books and just in name only.
Yeah.
And then they put them into this story, which, although had the basic thread of we had psychohistory, we had Harry Seldon, we had the Foundation, we had Terminus.
The gist is there.
What was the name of the main planet there? The son of the Empire. Trantor. We had all that. Big city planet. But there was a lot of divergence.
Tons. That whole space bridge thing coming down.
Yeah, that wasn't in the book. There's
a lot of action battle scenes.
Yeah, there's much more action in the TV show than there is, which I expected that. I always said that when I first heard that Apple they were going to do a production of Foundation, I said, how the heck are you going to do this? Because it jumps. The book jumps like hundreds, 30
of
years at a clip, another 50 years, another 100, another 1,000 years now. It jumps around. So I don't know. I didn't know how they were going to do it. So now I know how they're going to do it.
Well, they did something clever. The Emperor being this perpetual clone of himself, and the young one being Dawn, and the Emperor himself Day. And as he ages out of the job,
and that's a TV show thing. That was not in the.
That's book. A TV show thing, but it's kind of clever, I think, because it allows for the same actor to keep playing basically the same version of himself.
Right. Every time they jump.
And you do have to remember that. Okay, now we're ahead of generation, but it helps tremendously to keep them all straight.
They do jump around in this show.
They jump back and forth and back and forth and back.
Yeah, there's a jumping around, and of course, then there's the distances that are still, even because only the Empire and the military have the ability to jump. So
yes, they have
to get to another part of the galaxy very
Everybody quickly. Else goes by slow.
Everybody else kind of goes much slower. It's still very fast.
Yeah,
but it still takes years to get somewhere, as opposed to
the whole concept of the jump ship is fascinating. I really liked it. I love the design and that thing that spun.
Yeah.
And I love that they got covered, like they got that netting thing on their faces, and the spacers would come, and the spacers were all elongated because they've never been subjected to gravity. That was all cool. Like that was visually so cool and so well done.
That ship was in the book.
Yes.
But it wasn't as prominent as they're making.
That long blade knife ship.
No, they did. No, this ship where they found it, remember it was missing. That they did that.
That's Invictus.
That's Invictus. That's in the book. Oh, I know. You're talking about the initial jump.
Just jump ships in general. They're long, flat. They look like knives or boomerangs, maybe.
And that's something I want to talk about, the production design. I kind of really like the production design because, again, in the books, Asimov doesn't really describe the ships to what they look like.
No.
And so they had carte blanche in that where they could, but I love this weird, it's like they're kind of boxy, but rounded off sort of like some of the ships, especially when we get to Terminus and
like
some
Zelda's ship is very boxy, but rounded off. That's an excellent example.
I just like the design of it. It was pretty cool. I don't know.
Do they have the mule? Not in season 1.
No.
So
we'll find out.
Yeah.
Basically, it's, in the TV show, we do find out that Harry Seldon's plan, he had this sub plan.
He was playing 5D chess. He was so far ahead of them.
Yeah, he was like way ahead of them. And of course, we do find out at the end of season 1 that there's a second foundation, which is the name of this next book, which is called Second Foundation. So we knew that was going to happen. That, of course, is on his home planet of Helios. But we don't see it yet, not in season 1. But there was much more politics involved in the book as far as what was happening.
Yeah, exactly. So much more.
Terminus was a much bigger, it had cities and everything. It wasn't just this little colony.
They had to reduce the politics down. That's why they brought in that whole sky bridge thing, or space bridge, whatever it is, because that gave the Empire a reason to be angry at the Anacreons and the not thespians. Crap, sorry, it starts with TH.
I know. I always forget them too.
The Thelosians, termites. I don't know whoever they are. The TH.
It's a termite, right?
It's a termite, right? Yeah. That they turned what is a lot of politics in the book into this action where they bring this thing down. This massive thing comes crashing down. 100 million people killed, and he blames these two warring parties. It's your fault, and he turns around and bombs the ever-loving hell out of their planet.
Out of both planets into oblivion.
And kills the envoys. Kills the ambassadors' envoys.
Yeah, and that was all planned just so they could keep those two, because he didn't want, and this is part of the book too, didn't want those two, they were becoming very powerful, those two empires within themselves, and they didn't want them getting together and overthrowing the Galactic Empire.
Yes.
So the Emperor set them at each other's throats to, control them. And then, of course, the other thing is, which I don't think was in the book, is the whole Luna religious occult thing where that's when he does the whole.
Oh, and he walks the spiral. I was wondering
spiral.
about that.
I don't think that if somebody can, I haven't read the book in a while. I don't think that was in the book at all.
I don't know if that was either. And was the whole point of that just so that he's like, oh my god, I don't have a soul? Because then when they find out,
so the religion says that if you're a copy or you're a clone, you can't. Only the original has a soul. So he was trying to prove, because if he walks this 167 kilometer spiral to the center and survives, it's like a desert, no water. And then you're supposed to see a vision. And if you see the vision, whatever, I guess that proves he had a soul. So he makes it to the center, but then he just lies about the vision.
He lies about the vision.
So
interestingly, Lady Demoiselle, I can't think of her name, the robot, she claims to have had a vision.
Right, because she's false. So you assume that she's a form of, obviously, of AI and is essentially sentient.
Yes, she rips her face off.
Remember,
she rips her face off, and she's just this metal skull.
Okay, yeah, there's a side story which we'll get to in a minute, but she apparently, you don't even know it originally. At first, she's an android, until, like, I don't know, you get like halfway through the whole thing, you realize, because she was actually around when they created the very first clone from Cleon.
Yeah, she's one of the last surviving robots.
So there was a whole basically a whole I don't want to say culture, what's the word I'm looking for? There's tons of these. Yeah, there was like a whole race of these, and they're all gone. She's the only one. So you expect she probably, now you remember now what was happening as the clones were going on in this story. Somebody, a terrorist type, who got in and altered the DNA slightly of the clones
of Dawn.
Well, not just Dawn, but Day as well. Yes, they did reveal that he has some of the stuff too, which I think was one of the reasons. Remember, he was going to spare once they found out. Yeah, they were going to kill Dawn.
Because they were going to kill Dawn, and then he's like, oh my god, we don't have souls. I think he was like, this one's different. Maybe we should.
I think so. So the theory is that she's the one, because she's the only one that had access to those incubator things.
But maybe not, because the other when they were going to kill the one Dawn, there was a second Dawn that had been brought up outside the palace. They brought him in. They were going to use him to replace it. So they smuggled a bunch of cloning DNA out, and they were raising other emperors outside the palace.
Yeah, but remember, he was the one that was the Dawn. Basically, what it was is he had started this love affair with a gardener, and turns out that she was just using him, because when he goes to her for help, that once they find out, because they find out he's colorblind, so that's one thing that's wrong with him, and he's left-handed,
a bunch of stuff,
which he shouldn't be. So if he's an exact clone of the original, he shouldn't be colorblind. He shouldn't be left-handed. So, but when he goes to her for help, she basically turns on. She's one of these terrorists.
Yep.
Of course, that scene when Dave finally gets a hold of her, when he basically says, "You will become nothing," like, you're
sensory deprivation thing.
Yeah, this whole thing, like, you'll be bad. But the best part was, he's like, everybody you love and everybody now has a particle beam aimed at their cerebellum, and with just when I give the signal, they will all cease to exist. And he just goes like that. He goes, and it's done. So, like all over wherever these people are, a whole bunch of people just drop dead.
Yeah.
Think about that. If somebody said everybody, your family, I thought it was very powerful.
Yeah.
Because that would be like,
he is
really put the screws to her back.
He can be merciless when he wants to.
Yeah. Right. Well, there's a scene where the young one, the very young Dawn, he said, they were executed somebody, and he goes to the robot, and I forgot her name, the android there. Is violence always the
do we always
answer,
do this?
or is it normal or something? She's like, it's not always, but that's the norm or something.
That's what you always choose. Yeah, you
usually choose violence.
Yeah. Or you usually choose death or something. Yeah, it was
something along that line. They're very brutal.
They're very brutal.
So it's very different. So like I said, if you really love the books, and I enjoyed the books,
this might not be.
But you have to just disassociate yourself and say, this is just in the spirit of the books.
Yes, that's a great way to say it.
And go with it, because I think it stands on its own. as a, you know what I'm saying, taking the basic story. I guess we call it another universe. Of like,
Hands on its own is
like
beautiful sci-fi. It's gorgeous.
Yes, but you
Like,
have to
just
pay attention.
visually, it's
I will tell you that you have to pay attention because things happen very quickly.
Yeah.
And some
it's
things
sweeping.
are important that are like
epic.
one little line, but that's very important.
Yes, it's sweeping and epic, and you got to pay attention and know who's.
You might have to watch it if you really, really want to get every little detail. You might want to watch. In fact, I literally watched several recap videos because I watched it when it first dropped, which was a year and a half ago.
Yeah, it's been out for a while.
Yeah, because it came out in the fall of 21, I think. So it's been a while.
And don't let it scare you. Like if you're thinking, "Oh God, Foundation was such a heavy book to plow through."
It is. Yeah, it's not an easy read.
It's not an easy read, but don't let the show scare you. There's likable characters, and the plots are relatively. I mean, Rizzo's right. There are sometimes one line that you got to remember, but it's relatively easy to kind of. And they always do. Last time on Foundation, they give you that good recap that you need.
Yeah. I mean, overall, I think you get the general gist of it.
Yeah.
Even if you're not like, if you miss something you think might be important, I think you get the general idea is that this is an empire and it's built on basically a very large, like, in other words, the story's on a very large scale.
Very large scale.
There's not a lot of backstory on individual person until we get to Salma Hardin.
Yes, exactly. We do know all her backstory just because.
Yeah, she is the character. Again, those of you who read the book know Salma Hardin is not a woman in the books, and it's just the changes they made because the original character was governor and mayor of Terminus, yeah, he was not like just like a warden.
Yeah, that's cool.
And he didn't have all this connection to, to Harry Seldon as far as genetically, and not genetically, but to the there was none of all that the crisscrossing with
Jeff's asking about
her name.
Yeah. Foundation Doom
with Gail Dornick, the other math, who's not even in the there's a Gail
and there's a Raish, but they don't know each other in the book. They don't. There's no romance.
That person is not in like the first few chapters, and then they're done.
Yeah,
the Gail Dornick character.
They decided to keep going with.
So they substituted in to try to women and people of color to make it more diverse.
Fine. That works. That does not bother me though.
It's 1951. We wrote this. Everything is white old men smoking.
That's fine.
A lot of smoking in the book.
You know the thing about this that I kind of secretly wish they had done. Well, they don't do it in the book either. This is based on math, like straight up math, and we have that math now. Like we do exactly what psychohistory is now. It's just we don't call it. We call it, target demographics and crap like that, right? That's basically what he's doing, but he's doing it for like how people will act.
Yeah. It's like it's very on large scale. Like
in a massive scale.
It's explained much better in the book.
Yes.
Because he says, I can't predict what's going to happen like to you tomorrow, or I can't predict what's going to even happen.
But he just sees general
large patterns.
Just general patterns. Yeah, I really wish the show had maybe dug into that just a little bit more. I agree. But I love
they did it really cool. The thing itself that
that
was pretty cool. Whatever they called it there, the thing that basically was all the information.
Yeah, and it comes up and it's all pretty lights in it. Yeah. I like that the math is like it's always there. Like you can kind of feel this undercurrent of math always in every episode. But it's not Cadet Tilly screaming the power of math, people. It's not that. It's not in your face. It's just they never explain it, they never talk about it. It's just
and the Gale character, the reason like they basically made a contest that
she's supposed to be
some very complicated formula that hasn't been solved in over 40 years or some long time. I don't remember what it was. And she solves it. And she lives on some literally backwater planet. That's all
literally water. Backwater planet.
And her people have
her people
separated themselves from technology for whatever reason. They believe
they don't want or education.
They have nothing to do with technology or education. Yeah. So, and I don't know how she got so smart with math, but she was able to. I guess her teacher, I think, helped her transmit her answer to Harry Seldon, and of course, she's the only one that solved it, so he sends for her to come to Trantor,
where he was working. Yeah.
where he was working,
And
and
she
then
gets there, and he's literally like, "Okay, they're gonna arrest us tomorrow."
they're going to arrest us tomorrow. Yeah, because he predicted that. And although that kind of does go against what he says, where he said, "I can't predict."
Yeah,
But and then of course, what really they do arrest him, and because of they basically it's like treasonous that he's saying the empire is going to fall. That's why they're arresting him.
Yes.
So, but then when he's on trial, literally, that's when the sky bridge falls.
But we should probably mention that the thing that's unique about Gail is that she's not just a brilliant mathematician. She's also a little bit, what do you want to call it, psychic? I don't know what the word is.
She's a psychic, a little bit.
She knows things are going to happen before they happen.
Yeah.
So that
that whole storyline is
makes her fairly formidable.
Well, there's all that back and forth, and her and she's like in the escape pod that apparently can go across the galaxy.
Yeah. Can we talk about some of these weird things? Because
there are a lot of weird things.
A lot too many quinkadinks. And like when not Gail, the daughter, Selva, when Selva found her mother, Gail found her daughter. Selva went to that planet, crashed on the planet, and then here comes Gail and crashes and it finds exactly where her daughter is. There are too many quinkadinks, but then they clearly, Selva was the one that was constantly flipping the coin and always calling the coin. So she's like Lucky Domino in Deadpool. Yeah, she's just lucky. Like she just gets it all the time. Like whatever's going to happen, it's going to happen. Like when they're on that ship,
you kind of get the fact. We learned that she's special early on because when the Foundation, which is like this pyramid-looking sort of thing that floats, which is weird because nobody on Terminus can get near it because there's what they call a null field. So the closer you get to it, it like messes with your brain and you basically pass out. And these kids would always play to see how far their little flags, how close they get to it for. But Salva is the only one that can go right up to it. It doesn't affect her.
Yeah.
We find out later there's a reason for that. Spoiler, she's genetically related to Gail. Gail is her mother.
Gail's her mother,
but it's not. But it's not her.
That thing is Harry, so I don't exactly understand that. I also before the show started, I asked you. Harry dies. They put his body out. He uses nanobites.
What she's talking about is on the trip from
the coffin
from Trantor to Terminus. It took many years, and
how did he beat him there?
Harry's basically his assistant kills him.
He's his own jump ship,
and they put him in the Spock thing and they shoot him off. I guess. Well, I think he got there ahead because remember they got to. I don't know if I can't remember if the Foundation pyramid, I'll call it. You know what it looked like? It looked like the obelisk from the was it Paradise Syndrome when Kirk lost his mind and the Miramani thing?
Yeah, but it's got two. It's like two sides.
Sort of that. Yeah, but anyway, it's kind of like that. But it floats. Anyway, they don't really. They kind of show the colony being built like in time lapse at one point, but I don't know when. They don't really say when the Foundation. Because basically, what we find out happens
that obelisk was the Foundation because it's Harry.
Well, that's the thing. See, so every so often they know that Harry's going to appear as a hologram and speak to them, which happens and it's only when something significant is going to happen in the timeline, so to speak. So there's going to be this is your first test. I think the way they put it in the book, and then this is like your next one, and so. But what happened, this is where they go way off. The book doesn't have any of this, is apparently when they shot him into space as the dead guy, he really, before he was killed, he injected himself with nanobots.
Yes, I got all that.
As he is flying through space, the nanobots converted his body and the ship into the Foundation. But all his knowledge and consciousness was in the knife that stabbed him. That's why the guy gave it. It gets really weird. This is where you guys, it's like so hard to explain this without actually seeing.
I didn't quite get that one part. Like I got that using the knife
So
because
Gale
when she
still
wakes
has
up,
the knife.
when Gale wakes up
with
on
all
that
his
ship, and the
conscience
luck of
in it.
that ship to find her. See, everything's a little lucky in this thing.
Well, I think that's the whole point, though. It's all this kind of predestination.
He mathed it up. Power math, people.
Yeah, feel our math. Like he knew everything is going to
He
happen.
mathed
Yeah,
the
like you
hell out
said,
of it.
Harry
He
Selden,
didn't
who was played,
science the hell out of it.
by
He
the way, is
mathed
played by
the hell
Jared
out of it.
Harris, who you've seen in a million things. I think he's
Yeah,
like the
Jared
only.
Harris. I love
I
Jared
think Jared
Harris.
Harris is like the only actor I think that I recognize from anywhere else. Everybody else I don't know.
No, Lee Pace. You know Lee Pace. He played an elf in Lord of the Rings. That one elf. He's around. Lee Pace is around. You know him. Oh,
Anyway.
and you know Dusk. Dusk is in a bunch of stuff too. His name is
Terrence Mann.
Terrence Mann. He's around.
Yeah.
Everybody
but
else.
anyway, but Jared has been in tons of stuff, especially if you like. He was in, of course. Well, if you like, not Evil Dead.
He's in Chernobyl.
Yeah, he was in that, but he was
HBO.
in way before that. He was in the other one that's based on the video game.
He was in Mad Men.
I can't think of it. That's terrible.
He's in everything. You'll know Jared is. He's very distinctive looking and sounding.
IMDb. He was also in Mad Men. You're right. He was in Mad Men. Yeah, good character.
William is saying, did George?
He was in The Expanse. Remember? Yeah, he was one of the.
Oh yeah. He was in The Expanse.
Yeah.
He's in everything. He's just.
Resident Evil.
Was he in Resident Evil?
Yeah, he's like the first one he was in Resident
Yeah, maybe he was in
Evil.
Resident
Or the second one, I think.
Bill is saying, did George Lucas steal Coruscant from Trantor? Yes, Coruscant and Trantor are very similar. They're
very
just
similar. Solid
city planets.
But yeah, so yeah, one would have to argue that Lucas stole it from
and Jerry. Hi, Jerry Stewart. Jerry's saying Lucas stole a lot from Foundation, Dune, and John Carter of Mars. Yeah, they all these certain sci-fi tropes seem to keep popping up again and again and again, and that's okay. I ain't mad at it.
Yeah, I mean, and it's funny because even like if you know music, particularly classical music, and you know that John Williams does the same thing.
Sure.
He pulls stuff from the classics over the years and adds to them. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but it's clearly that he used what he thought was good, and a lot from jazz too, because he was a jazz.
Yeah, that's true.
Jazz musician.
Martin is saying it's math turned into a religion. Kinda, sorta.
In some ways, I think it did turn that way. I don't think that was what Harry's intention was.
It's not that the math itself turned into religion. The preservation of the Foundation, the preservation of this Encyclopedia Galactica, that kind of sort of turned into a religion, sort of.
Right. And again, that was never even the point. Like that was just the cover story, basically, for the Foundation, was the Encyclopedia Galactica. Yeah. Well, if you read the books, that's what I'll tell you. Harry had there's a whole nother subplot that he had going on there.
Which I'm wondering if they're even going to touch on. I guess not. Oh, well.
We'll see. We don't know what they're going to go.
We'll find out Friday. Yeah, it's been a hot minute since I've read the book. So
overall, I mean, I would recommend this if you like really kind of some really bizarre sci-fi. Is that really the right word? Is bizarre really?
Bizarre.
But it's not your basic pew 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 Star Warsy Star Trek where stuff is kind of spoon fed to you. Storylines and I know people probably going Star Trek's more intellectual than that. Well, this takes it to another level of intellectual.
Another level.
I mean, just from trying, it's like on par with Dune. I mean, if you really like Dune, the books is very political.
You know what? Yeah.
Dune, the movies do tend to get more action packed, and I know they do this because people are not going to want to sit through people just
politics
talking politics.
Very political.
Yeah, it's not going to be very interesting. They got to have stuff blowing up and people dying and all that kind of stuff. So, and I knew they were going to do that. Like when I saw that, there's no way they're going to make this what the book was. And there was a little bit of action in the book here and there.
It's not, so they call this. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So they call this the book that cannot be filmed, and I'm afraid I think it still has yet to be filmed.
You're right, because that's why I say it's in the spirit of the book.
In the spirit, but you know what? As a story, I ain't mad at it. It's interesting.
No,
it's an interesting story, and it's got some different and unique concepts that I don't think I've ever come across.
Like I said, if you're a hardcore fan, just say, okay, this is not the book. Don't get all, oh, they screwed it up. It's not right. No, it's not.
Yeah,
It's not the
just
book.
gonna roll with it.
This is just in the spirit of the book. Like you said, I agree with you. That's a good point. I agree. They did. This is not an adaptation. Have not created a TV or movie adaptation of this book yet. This is not it.
This is not it.
But I think it's worth watching.
But I think it's worth watching too. Jeff Rubel is saying Foundation Dune crossover. Yeah, I guess if you're in the desert, I guess it's kind of.
I would say, yeah, not John Carter though. It's nothing. I don't think it's really anything like John Carter.
Things. And then Bill saying I just booked my room, so I guess he's either coming to Trek Condor or he's coming back to another Shatner. And guys, if you're gonna come to an event and meet us in person, Rizzo and I want to meet you in person and see you and say hi and everything. But I apologize in advance. I'm usually chained, like physically chained to this desk in a terrarium. Not really. Yeah. I'm in the vestibule of the set tour, and I can never get away from that desk. And I saw you, Bill, and I was like, oh, and I want, maybe we'll get to talk. No, I don't even.
I did get to say hello to Bill, so.
I don't even have 2 minutes to
sorry I didn't get to talk to you.
And I apologize because I want
we're both pretty busy. You're always running around doing something. We're there to obviously volunteer. So, and Doc Alexander was there this
Dr. Alexander was there.
He was helping.
Who's another frequent contributor.
And he helps a lot.
And if you go to Trek Condoroga, you can see Bruce Playfair, who's another frequent contributor to this show. So
yeah, Bruce is always up there at the school helping out. So yeah, that's our primary goal is to do that. So anyway, well, it's almost 8:00.
It is almost 8:00. Roy did not put up what he's doing. He was off last weekend, and he did not put up what he's doing this week. But Phil,
and I don't know what we're doing next week.
We don't know what we're doing either. Phil told me what he's doing. He is doing a prog rock, like Woodstock. So they call it Progstock. It's like this whole outdoor concert thing. It's www.progstock.com if you want to go see some killer live music. He'll cover that, and he's gonna do his Friday night freeform on Friday night. So check him out on WUSB Stony Brook. Yeah.
As far as, did you guys like us doing this kind of preview show of what's coming like in between seasons? Tell us what you think. We're always trying to come up with something different or not.
And did you care that we reviewed the set tour activities? Because if you're not down for that, we won't.
Yeah, we can avoid that stuff too. Obviously, we want to do what you guys wanted to hear us talk about.
What do you want to hear us talk about? We want to be entertaining.
We talk all the time, so. Anyway, yeah, give us your thoughts because it really does help us improve the show. But in any case, we will be back, of course, next week with something.
Yeah, something. And Martin's saying, how about a whole series of based on the book, but not really. And this would be a great example of that.
Yeah, we kind of did that with the books, didn't we?
Chris says he likes the news and the set tour stuff.
Okay. Well, news is always good.
News is always good.
Always good. So, all right. Well, we'll come up with something. If not, you guys can always send me messages or post them on the Facebook page if you have any ideas as to what you want us to do.
Time to actually book Shatner. Oh, I think he's gonna do it. I think he's about to buy his tickets.
Oh my goodness. Well, you won't be disappointed. And it's usually, I think, a lighter crowd November.
Yes, November's a smaller event, which I personally prefer.
And I know we won't have all the extra celebs unless something happens at the last minute. But
I don't know.
Bill likes to fly solo. He doesn't like.
Bill does like to fly solo, but I like to have something. Well, Bill's on the set. I like to have something for other people to do at the school. So we'll figure something out. We'll have somebody.
All right. Well, on that note, I will say good night. Live long and prosper as always, and we will see you guys next week.
Next week.
Bye-bye.